Before we jump into this episode, let me just tell you that you can get 30% off the BTS Academy if you use the bonus code WSOP 2023. But be quick, because they're only going to be offering this for a limited time. Again, that bonus code is WSOP 2023. You know, you nearly got your 17th bracelet. You finished run up to David Jackson, another couple of thousand in the tournament. For people watching this at home, what advice would you give to them about competing in large field WSOP tournaments, Phil? Give them a couple of nuggets.
Can you see I'm walking in the middle of our interview?
Yeah, I can see you walking.
Because some of us just woke up and, it's so beautiful in here, California. My house is so beautiful. We're so lucky. But I have to grab my coffee because although it's about 12:45 here and very late for you there, some of us wake up at noon.
Yeah, you get your coffee. You get your coffee. So go on, advice.
To come back and answer that question, I mean, I think if you're a beginning player, are you really talking about like more experienced players? How do they play?
I would say more experienced players who are not necessarily making a living out of it, but putting a lot of decent hours into it. They love the game. They're semi-pro or pro. What advice would you give to them about competing in large fields at the WSOP?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that everybody seems to have figured out lately is how tight you have to play. It's very stunning to me because you look at 03 and 04 and 05 and everybody thought you have to 7-bet every hand. And then, and I think finally, just it's hard to go against math all the time. And I think now you see everybody playing a lot tighter. And so you sit down in the field with a bunch of amateurs and you knew 6 years ago that they played way too many hands, got themselves in a lot of trouble. And all of a sudden that's all shifted. It's a little bit harder as a pro now to get there but then that opens up the possibility of raising and re-raising and winning more hands that way. And so whatever they're doing, you have to think of a counter strategy to that. But right now everybody's playing tight. I like playing tight. It works well for me. But I will tell you in my most recent, in that deep run, I didn't have cards, so we all go card dead for a couple hours. That happens. And I went from maybe 2 million down to 1 million. And then I just put in 2 massive river bluffs with nothing. But because I'd been sitting there tight all day and no one expected it. And I told the one guy I'd show it if he folded. And I showed it and they were all just like, what the hell? And then the very next hand, I went for another massive bluff. And these guys, now they're all talking to themselves because you got to understand pros hate getting bluffed. And that's a weakness too. So now they're all talking to themselves, massive bluff, and boom, I'm right back at 2 million, and then, at that point I slowed way down, made sure I made the next day. But I mean, so I do think that if you're going to make deep runs, super tight's important, but you also have to then take advantage of your reputation.
I was going to say, does your reputation play into your answer to the World Series? You get a lot of people wanting to take you down and making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I'd say not as much as the past. I mean, in the past, I would hear people say, well, I mean, listen, I just get mobbed with the World Series. It's crazy, right? And then I don't know, that it kind of fucks me up a little bit. We always talk about, my wife and I, that 2 weeks after the series, how fucked up I am because I'm at that series and I'm walking down the hallway and they stop when they see me. Right. And they're like, holy shit, that's Phil Hellmuth. And I'm like, well, I'm just a normal guy. Why are they stopping? And you know what I mean? And then, oh, that's right, I'm pretty good at poker. Oh, that's right, I'm one of the all-time greats at poker. And I think that people have figured out that I'm a good guy by now. They've tried to make me look bad. They tried to, in that stream in LA, even though you can hear all of the players say Phil didn't fold, of course, the narrative is somehow Phil did something wrong. And if you look at 30 years or 40 years of me filming, you never see me do anything wrong. And so, now they're trying to, for a little while, they tried to make that a thing. And so I do feel to to come back to the ego thing, and I apologize for being all over the map here, Lee.
It's good.
The ego thing is interesting for me because it's a struggle. And just yesterday, I think my son, so let's go back. My son finished third in a tournament, a charity event. And I thought to myself, I'm jaded is the word, jaded. And I thought, well, that'd probably, and they give him a trophy. And I said, I'd probably just throw it away. That's a little jaded. But I mean, on the other hand, my trophy case is pretty much full. I don't know where I'd put it. You know what I mean? It's nice. But my son was so happy. He's like, oh, at least I got a third place trophy. And I said, oh, and I right away, I'm like, Phil, you're an asshole, you know? And I said, oh, that's really cool. And like, let me see the trophy. It's my son. And I got into it. Then yesterday, I think someone paid $2,000 for 10 minutes of my time. And I was like, oh, this might be a little bit, you know, it's just, you know, this might be a little bit hard for me. And the writer, Micah Kaplan's like, isn't it a pleasure to meet one of your fans? And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm so jaded. And you catch yourself and you're like, what's wrong with you? Somebody paid $2,000 to meet you for 10 minutes, you know? And it's just, it's a natural, normal thing, but I try to fight it off, you know, and I try the best I can, but, you know, 2 months of the series with everybody telling you're a god every day, with everybody looking at you at every minute, you know, everybody's paying attention. Oh, did Phil get up? Oh, is he leaving? Is he busted? And people stand up and they look, oh no, he's still his chips. He's still in. Oh, when can I get my picture with? It's just like, you know, 20,000 people where you're just always the center of attention. It can mess you up, And then you feel, and then everybody's tapping you on the shoulder. I'm eating a pizza. They're tapping on the shoulder. Can I have a picture? And I'm like, fuck, I'm eating my pizza, man. But I don't say that. I'm like, yeah, put the pizza down, smile. They lean in, we take a picture, and I go back to my pizza. And it's that constant encroachment into the personal space, and that you become a little bit jaded. So yeah, I try to work on that. And, you know, we're still a month out from the series. So I try not to be jaded and thankful because, you know.
What I like about you, Phil, is you're aware of it. So whenever we've spoken, you're aware that this ego part of you can get switched on. It can enjoy the limelight and can take control a little bit, and it can do things and say things that yourself, your higher self, is not like particularly proud of. But you snap it back into rain, right? And that's very different to somebody who acts like a dick sometimes, but is not aware that they're acting like a dick and actually refuses to believe that it's happening. And look, how many people actually get mobbed to the degree that you do when you're in the World Series in their life? It's probably very few people listening to this can actually understand what it's like. And you imagine if you have like, I don't know, 100 people ask you for a photograph in the day and you snap at one of them, that's the only thing that people remember. They won't remember the 99 ones you took, right? So you're under a lot of pressure.
I never snap.
No.
The last 10,000 pictures, I've taken them all. I never snap. Now I might get a little bit, you know, I might roll my eyes a little bit to myself, but I'm never going to show that. So I've taken 10,000 pictures straight and never snapped. I'll never snap. But what you said is interesting, that your higher self. Sometimes I'm talking because of my ego, and my higher self is not proud. I'm bragging again. I'm bragging. I even have been saying lately, everything I say is a brag. You know, I can't talk about my life. I mean,
because it's so good.
We're talking about who are the 8 biggest people in the world, right? Like the known, and how I have time with 7 of them, or maybe it's 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. It's crazy, right? And so, you know, from Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan and, you know, former presidents, you know, Trump and Obama. And it's just crazy how somehow, you know, and so, you know, I think that kind of stuff can be mind blowing. And I think when your mind's blown, then your ego gets a little puffed up and you start saying stuff. You're right, though. I catch myself. I'm like, oh.
Phil, how did it happen? How did it happen? Like you're a poker player, like thousands of other poker players. How do you go from being How did you become the one that kind of transcends the game and ends up rubbing shoulders with presidents?
No idea. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, of course I have an idea, but it's just like, poker became huge and I became a magnet. I became someone that people love or hate. There's a word for that, right? But they definitely are watching me.
a bit like you're like the McEnroe of poker at one point, right? There's a selling point there.
Yep, John McEnroe is a great, I mean, he would complain because they made bad calls, and he was right. They made bad calls. And a lot of what I say is truth, and people know it's truth. And so it's not just me, but I think there is something there. I think I have some charisma. This is not ego talking. I have some charisma, and I have some volatility. And for some reason, every time I'm filming or part of something, it just seems like somehow I steal the show a lot of the time, right? For whatever reason, maybe something stupid I do or something smart I do or whatever. And so, who would have thought with that group of streamers, MrBeast and Ninja, who these guys I really like a lot, by the way, and text with them, two of the biggest in the world. And, the whole, and a lot of the guys I don't know as well on that stream, but who would have thought with all those millions of followers, there'd be so much talk about me. Right. And, and that was, so for some reason I'm memorable. Right. And then I think, all right. So then you figure, oh, well, it's pretty cool. 15% of the United States knows who you are. Wow. That's really cool. And those 15% are big fans, or they really hate me, one or the other. But now they've all been converted into fans. They all realize that I'm a good guy. And so then, if one in whatever 6 or 7 people is a huge fan, that means when someone else meets me and they ask their friend, and they're, oh my God, that's Phil. Da, 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 da. And so I've been getting that. And maybe it just all builds and builds and builds. And so there's always one of those, people to kind of, tell the biggest celebrities in the world of presidents, that's Phil Hellmuth. And they're like, oh, wow. So I don't know how exactly it happened, but also I'm completely authentic. And we know that authenticity is a good thing. We didn't know authenticity was a good thing in 99. I wanted to change. I wanted to be somebody else, but I couldn't. I've always been me. So if you watch me then and you watch me now, I'm the same guy. There's no bullshit. There's no hidden. I'm not hiding. I'm straight up.